Today we are talking about Black Cake, the series. Hi everyone, my name is Danielle. Welcome to the channel. If you haven't already done so, please hit the subscribe button and let's get started. A few weeks ago, I shared my review on Black Cake, the book, and the Hulu series was inspired by the book, obviously, by Charmaine Wilkerson. If you haven't already checked out my review, I will leave a link below in the description box so you can do so. And then after you do that, you can come on back because I am going to be talking about the first 4 episodes that I've watched so far. So episodes 1 through 4. I'm going to share the parts that stood out to me the most. Just so you know, 2 things. Number 1, there will be spoilers. Spoiler alert, spoiler alert. There will be spoilers, so you can't say I did not warn you, okay? I'm just gonna share some of the moments that stood out to me the most out of the first 4 episodes that I've watched so far. For starters, I've loved the cinematography. I think it is just so captivating. As somebody who has a lot of connections to the islands, both sides of my family are from the island of Grenada, and so I've been to the Caribbean many times. I love seeing the beaches. All of that is just so gorgeous and beautiful. They did such a good job of captivating the essence of like a simpler time in Kovi's life. They showed just her swimming in the water and having a great time, seeing her parents happy and together and in love. I loved seeing those moments in the beginning of the first episode, even just seeing the aerial views of her and her friends swimming in the water. Just so many beautiful shots that were just so well captured. Even though it was sad when she had to go to London and then when she had to go to Scotland, I think the cinematography reflected the sadness and the grief because it just was visibly darker as she was continuing in those various scenes as she continued in her life. It just got worse and worse and worse. They did a great job of capturing the sadness and the grief that was associated with London and Scotland, and so kudos to them for that. I also thought that the casting, well done. They incorporated the cultures very well. I think you could tell just by reading the book, even though I don't think Charmaine Wilkerson explicitly said this is happening in Jamaica. You could read it and tell that it was Jamaica. And so Jamaica is one of the countries that we know has, well, at least I know there's a lot of Chinese Jamaicans. There's a whole population of Chinese Jamaicans, and the way they cast the roles reflected that. And I thought that was really, really good. Really well done. I think the accents, in my opinion, granted, I'm not Jamaican, but the accents to me seemed believable. And you know how some people, when they'll do accents, it's like, ooh, go back to the drawing board or cast somebody else. I didn't feel that here. Kovi's mom, Matilda, those cheekbones, that bone structure come through. Whoever she is in real life, she's gorgeous. And then just seeing her and Kovi's dad together when they in good times, Lynn and Matilda, just seeing them together interacting with each other was really sweet. How they met. I loved seeing those little brief montages throughout the actual episodes. I thought that was really beautiful and sweet. Lynette, Benny, and Kovi, to me, all favored each other, which makes sense when you think of like when people get married. I've heard it said like boys marry their moms or women who remind them of their moms. So you could kind of see that like they gravitated toward people who kind of favored their family members, which in one way is a little weird, but in another way it makes total sense. So when Kovi was in Scotland, she had to endure workplace harassment. When Kovi was in Scotland, she had to endure a lot of negative experiences in the workplace. And whether it was at the hands of other women or men, I thought it was interesting how she would always try to make herself small in order to just survive. I think she was coming back from Scotland. She was on her way back to London from Scotland. But she said, the longer you go without being seen, the smaller and smaller you become until there's nothing left and you all but disappear. Let that be a lesson. Like no matter where you are, if you're in a relationship with a significant other or your relationship with your friends, if you're in the workplace, no matter where you are, if you feel like you have to dim your light or be small just to survive, use that as an indication that, hey, something needs to shift and change, because I should never have to dim who I am just to survive. This could be a sign that I'm in the wrong place and I need to get up and go and find places and people who can celebrate and not just tolerate, but celebrate who I am and what I bring to life. Or it's that you need to build that muscle of knowing how to shine anyway. Because I think that there's a Marianne Williamson quote that talks about our light gives others, like our light subconsciously gives others the permission to do the same, like to shine. I'm messing up the quote, I know, but it's something along those lines. And sometimes that happens in the face of fear. Learning how to shine in the face of fear is important. And so sometimes it's not always run and find somewhere else to go and be protected and safe so that you can shine your light. Sometimes it's saying shine anyway, in spite of where you are. But in Kovi's case, this was like you in survival mode. As soon as you can get up and get out of here, do that. But a lot of negative things happened in spite of that. And so that was really, really sad to see. But I just thought it was interesting for her to note, the smaller you feel like you have to become, be careful, because it's only a matter of time before you disappear from your own life. And that's not a space you want to be in. Fast forward to when Kovi was coming back to London from Scotland. We know that was a really hard time in her life. And Kovi ended up running into Gibbs. And I remember reading that part in the book and I remember the shock and picturing the shock on Gibbs' face when he saw Kovi. And I think that in the show, they did a great job. The actor who played Gibbs did a great job of showing how shocked he was when he saw her. It was like, am I seeing a ghost? I thought this woman was dead. I can't believe this woman is standing in front of me. The woman I haven't stopped thinking about for decades or years, many, many years at this point. And he's now seeing her in the flesh. I thought was really, really funny. I rewound that section because I was like, he did a great job acting that scene, I thought. There was something that Kovi said to Gibbs when they reunited. He was like, have you stopped thinking about me? Have you moved on? Because he was like, I never stopped thinking about you. I was always in love with you. I always would just think about where you were and hoping that we were able to reunite until I found out that you died, all the other thing, or died. And so she was like, no, I didn't stop thinking about you. But she said that thinking of you was my escape. And when you think of the things that she had been through in her life and how much she needed an escape, you know she escaped mentally often. And for her to say that when I did escape mentally, you were the person that I was thinking of. Like, unless somebody articulates that to you, you're not going to know what it's like. But wow, what a compliment. I thought it was interesting how both Kovi and Benny, Kovi's the mom, Benny's the daughter, both of them had their experiences with what I would call like a white man savior, where there's a white man who's coming in and he's posing as a savior, but really he's doing harmful things to her. In Kovi's case, it was the boss in Scotland. He sensed both men. It was the Scottish boss, and then there was also Steve, who was giving Benny the art apprenticeship. Both of them sensed that there was a lot of secrets. There was a lot of vulnerabilities that they had, a lot of sensitivities they had, and they played on that. They played on that to their advantage. They showed up as predators. And you have to be careful when it comes to the language that predators use when they're trying to convince you to stay. Steve and Benny, the first time he threw that mirror at her and she ducked, the thing that he said when he was trying to come back and apologize, he was just like, I get mad. The reason why I get so angry and upset is because I just love you so much. And that reminded me of when I went to the Renwick Gallery with my nephew a couple weeks ago, and we saw that exhibit that was talking about grief, loss, love, relationships. One of the things that one of the topics that exhibit touched on was abuse. And there was this piece, I'll put it in here, but basically the piece was saying, I get mad because I love you. One of the things that's commonly said in abusive relationships is like, the reason why I get this way is because I just love you so much, as opposed to because I love you so much and I can sense that I can get really wild with my temper. Let me go get help. Let me take care of myself and protect you from me. Instead, this is my excuse. I get mad. So you have to just understand this is just the way I love you. Red flag. The way they crafted that scene where she took him back, Benny took Steve back, was reflective of what you see oftentimes. It's like you want to give him another chance. You want to hope that he'll do better and hope that he'll protect your heart and be good to you. But it only got worse in Benny's case. It only got worse. He came back. She let him back in, but, and I'm so glad she was able to see, oh no, this man is a monster. And he's taking control of he centered himself in my entire life to the point where he feels like he is my family in the face of my father's death, which was nuts. It's like, how self-absorbed are you? But this is the mind of an abuser. Both men played on the vulnerabilities and the sensitivities of those women to say, here, let me help you. I'm here to provide support to you. I'm advocating for you in different ways. I see other people doing things and I think that you deserve a chance. You deserve an upper hand. You deserve it. Let me help you. But then in doing that, it's like, oh, actually, you're just positioning me as your next prey. And learning how to spot that and run before it gets fatal or just even damaging is important. I didn't even like the subtle dig that Steve took at Benny's locks and basically saying, you need a hairstyle that's more feminine. Sure, you can have an opinion on the person you love and their appearance, but sometimes it's like negging. It's like they make fun of you in subtle ways to try and break you down in subtle ways. And before you know it, they're able to make their insults more in your face, more obvious. But sometimes it comes in those subtle, like, let's just make it a little more feminine. What's wrong with her locks? Her locks are feminine. That's how you met her. I don't know. There was something about that was just, I didn't like it. I did not like it at all. Well, I mean, obviously he was terrible anyway, but I think sometimes people will say things in a subtle manner to make you think, oh, I didn't mean it that way. No, but you actually did mean it exactly that way. And you're gaslighting the person and make them believe that you actually do love them so much, so deeply. But in reality, you're just using your tactics, using your skills to just slowly chip at the way their self-esteem and bring them down, which is what he did. Lastly, I thought it was so interesting how Benny talked about the stress of the secrets Covey was carrying all that time and how she feels like that could have played a role in her demise. I remember seeing a quote where it was like 75 to 90% of all hospital visits are connected to stress. And we don't really as a society fully understand how damaging stress can be on the body. Stress that woman was carrying from the trauma. She went through so much in her life, and she kept it all in. She never shared she didn't share her name, her real name. She didn't share her real name with her kids. She didn't share the fact that she had another child with her spouse. Like, she kept all of that in. And when you have all of that weighing on you, I can imagine you'll have either a mental breakdown or a physical breakdown of your body. So it's no shock that she died of brain cancer. Not that you can think yourself into brain cancer, but if you're so stressed and stress is connected to illness, it's only a matter of time before you do yourself in. And it was so sad to think that like that woman has been in agonizing pain for so long. And the idea of suffering in silence with secrets is so heartbreaking to me. And it just makes me think that it's very important for us to have more compassion when dealing with each other, because we really don't know some of the secrets that people are suffering with in silence. We have no idea. Just because it looks one way on the outside, it doesn't mean it's always bad. I'm not saying that, but you'd be surprised at what people are carrying internally and just feel too ashamed to share. And so they suffer silently. We had to read this book in high school. It was called Walden by Henry David Thoreau. And there's a line in the book. I want to say it's probably one of the first lines in the book. I could be wrong, but it says, "The mass of men lead lives of quiet desperation." I remember reading that in high school and thinking, wow, that is sad, but that can't be true. And now in adulthood, I just turned 38 this week. Happy birthday to me. I'm 38 years old. I turned 38 on April 2nd, last Tuesday. But at 38, I think it's very much true. I think it's very true. The massive men lead lives of quiet desperation. So when you're interacting with people, do it with kindness as much as possible. You never know who's right on the edge. You never know what people are handling and dealing with. I stopped at episode 4. I finished episode 4. I loved it. I cannot wait to continue and watch 5 through 8. All right, guys, thank you so much for watching today's episode. I really appreciate it. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button, and I will see you next week. Bye.